Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Renew Podcast. I am your host, Kristen Andre, and as always, we are helping you reclaim your business and your life without losing your edge. And with me today, I have my friend Ethan King. Ethan, I'm excited. I'm going to tell you about him. Ethan is an entrepreneur, American entrepreneur with businesses in apparel, fitness, e-commerce, and real estate. He is a dynamic speaker who I can attest to because he's just a big personality, which is fun. But he shares his journey from starving artist to CEO of multiple seven-figure brands. He's been on Oprah. He's been featured on the cover of Best Self magazine, which is how you and I met, and specializes in coaching high-performance professionals around the world to live a life by design. He is also the author of the best-selling book, Wealth Beyond Money, which we have here, just came out in March. Yeah. So I'm excited to have you here. Thanks for being with us.
I'm so excited to be here, Kristen. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Well, we talk a lot on our podcast about personal development and professional development, which I know is that's your thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've been doing this for a while. So tell us a little bit about your story. Because starving artist to CEO, I think I'll hear people like, oh, I'm a CEO, but you're a CEO of like legit seven-figure businesses. You have a lot of businesses.
Yeah, I'm kind of a scattered brain entrepreneur.
I like that though. Yeah, that's what makes entrepreneurs good, don't you think?
It can. Everything is good and bad. That's one of the things I talk about in the book. So I'd probably have a lot more money if I focused on just one thing. Like a Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos.
I've heard they got some money. Well, I've heard that too, but I like the scattered because your businesses are very different. So tell us your story. Tell us the starving artist.
Ooh, yeah. So I literally was a starving artist. So early, as far back as I can remember, maybe 8th grade or so, I was good at drawing and painting, and I wanted to be a career artist, like a fine artist.
Okay.
My parents told me that artists don't make any money until after they are dead.
So, yeah, it's the Picasso story, right?
Right,
yeah.
So many, and it's true, and of course my parents wanted me to do something practical, doctor or lawyer or something like that. But I was a stubborn kid, and I majored in art anyway. And I quickly found out that my parents were right. Like, it's very tough to make money in the art field. It's possible, but it takes a lot. So unfortunately, at that time, this was over 20 years ago, I got into a lot of trouble because I wanted to be wealthy. I wanted to be rich, but I went about it the wrong way. So I was always hustling, getting into trouble. Ended up getting arrested twice by the age of 19.
I didn't know that about you. Okay. Yeah. But that even makes the story, I hate to say better, but it does. Because you really overcame a lot then.
Yeah.
Was it just, I think a lot of times when people lack direction, that's when they tend to get in trouble. Was that it for you think?
Well, yeah. It's all about your inputs that you're getting, right?
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to be, I grew up watching like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I knew I wanted to be rich. That was in conflict with the career path that I chose. And then also the inputs. I was not listening to gangster rap and watching gangster movies. So it's like, when you put it all together, this is the outcome. And I had a few moments that really, I call them rebirth moments because they made me turn my life around. And at one point I actually got suspended from college for some of the trouble that I was getting into. And the president of the university called me to, this is UGA, a big university.
Yeah.
He called me to his office and actually suspended me. And I was thankful that he didn't expel me.
Yeah.
And then, so after college, I found it hard to get a real job. I was working a bunch of odd jobs. At one point, I was taking out the trash at a strip club on the south side of Atlanta.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was a really rough spot. There would be shootouts across the street. It was just a terrible, low time in my life. And during the day, I was learning graphic design and web design. So I could actually one day maybe make some money using the art skills that I had.
Because that combines the two.
Right.
You're still getting to be creative there.
Exactly. So what happened is some of the DJs and promoters at the strip club ended up hiring me to do the graphics for the club. And I felt really guilty doing that. I grew up in the church, and my dad.
The
was
church
a pastor.
Doesn't like the strip clubs. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but there's this passage in the Bible about using your talents that God gave you, and I felt like that's not like He designed me for more than that.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt trapped in that lifestyle because that's how I was making money, and but I had this urge. I knew I needed to make a change. Well, one day on the way to the strip club one night, I got carjacked at gunpoint. I got
Oh my
robbed.
goodness.
And that was one of those wake up moments where I had this epiphany, like I need to just leave it all behind and go a different route. And that's when I really, really turned my life around.
It sounds like you had a lot of wake up moments.
I did, yeah.
And what's interesting is I always say, I'm a big believer, strong Christian faith, and I always say that God will keep testing you until you learn the lesson you were supposed to learn. So it sounds like you had a number of wake up moments up to then that nudged you a little bit, but maybe didn't do that 180.
That's right, yeah.
The carjacking,
Okay.
goodness great. I couldn't even imagine. Like there was a current hockey player that was carjacked yesterday, I think, up in Montreal, which he's one of my daughter's favorites. She woke up freaking out because she heard the news, but same thing, like in today's world, got carjacked, and this is a professional athlete. They were trying to steal his Range Rover, and I was sitting here thinking, the fear, I just don't, that would have had to turn anybody's
It was
world
the
around.
most scariest moment in my life. I didn't know it at the time, but after that, for like a year, 2 years, I had PTSD. Like I'd be leaving out of the grocery store and a cart would clang behind me and I would jump. Yeah, it was just really, really
I think
scary.
that's understandable. Goodness
Yeah.
gracious. All right. So so that moment switched it for you?
That switched
So
it.
what did you do? I mean, because I think a lot of people listening will have these moments where something snaps or something changes in their brain. They're like, God, this is different. I need to pay attention to this, or I need to make some changes. What did you do? I mean, how did you execute, if you will, on the change?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is what you stop doing. So I stopped doing all business for the strip club. It was too raunchy. I couldn't use the work in my portfolio anyway. I cut it all off, which was scary because that was my income. So for like a month, I was completely unemployed, didn't have a car, but I felt free. It was a weird moment because I felt free. I felt this sense of renewal, and I felt like I had a new lease on life. It's almost like I died and came back. And
you did. I mean, in a sense.
Metaphorically, yeah. And then, so I applied my efforts toward my freelance graphic design business. I think it's no coincidence that about 30 days later, I finally got a real job. I landed a full-time job as a graphic designer at a newspaper.
Okay.
My freelance work also picked up. I got some big-name clients like Tyler Perry.
I've heard him.
Yeah.
He's kind of a big-name client. All right, so wait a minute. So you make this change, and within 30 days, you pick up Tyler Perry as a client?
At the
That's
time,
a God wink right there. I'm not going to lie.
At the time, I had never heard of Tyler Perry. This was in 2003. This was before Tyler Perry was the Tyler Perry.
Okay.
Now, he was popular on the play circuit, but I had never heard of him personally.
Okay.
And I get this email from the Tyler Perry company. Hey, we're looking to hire a graphic design company. Will you come in? And I'm like, okay, sure. I had no idea, and I got to work with them for about 10 years while he was still doing all of his stage plays. I did all the graphics and the merchandise, and I got to watch his evolution up close. So that was an awesome blessing. But had I not been in that moment, in that mind space, and left behind all of the other stuff, I would not have been able to seize that opportunity.
I think shedding the bad is equally, if not more important than moving towards the good. I mean, and I think that could be people, ideas, situations, surroundings, everything.
You got to drop that weight to make room for goodness that can come into your life. It's so much of that. So around the same time that I started working with Tyler and some other big name clients, my girlfriend and I had started this side business while I was in school called Stuff for Greeks. Greeks meaning the fraternity and sorority apparel. So that we were doing that. It started as a school project, but then we started getting real orders from strangers across the country who were like, hey, I want you to make our jackets. And at the time, we didn't know how to make jackets. We would just do the design work and send it to them and say, hey, you go get it made somewhere. They were like, no, we want you to do it. So I didn't even know. I'm like,
so that's how you learned.
That's how I learned. So out of necessity, I said yes to someone and they paid me money. So I went and figured out how to actually do the embroidery, get the machines, and actually create these jackets. And now, still to this day, Stuff for Greeks is one of the top Greek paraphernalia companies in the country.
Well, and being someone who was in a sorority, they spend money. I mean, I spent so much money on like shirts and jackets, and
it's a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
It's a big moment in your life. So, so then after that, so then we outgrew. We were working out of our home basement. Then we outgrew that. We had about 8 employees, 3 machines. Neighbors were complaining about cars in the driveway. So we were able to, at the time, purchase a building in West Midtown Atlanta, which back then nothing was in West Midtown. It was just like factories and old homes.
It's the place to be
And
now.
yeah, now it's really
It was a
booming.
good purchase.
Yeah, so we got in at a great time. Again, grace of God.
Yeah.
And we decided we had some extra space there, and we decided to test out a retail store concept because a lot of our customers had asked could they come in and like try on clothes and things like that. So we decided to name the store Zeus's Closet so that we wouldn't just be pigeonholed into the Greek paraphernalia space,
Right.
but that way we could do the embroidery and the swag and the uniforms for other markets. And so now we do stuff for film and TV industry, school uniforms, business
you guys are
swag,
big.
all of that.
You got it. I mean, that's a really what time frame was that though? This is a
This was
10-year
it.
period.
This was in 2008. So the carjacking happened in like '02, I think. And then
It's been a 6-year period.
yeah.
That's a lot of growth in 6 years.
Yeah, quite a blessing. So now we have 2 store locations. We have another one in Kennesaw, but most of our business is still e-commerce actually. And another really pivotal moment in my business journey is as we were growing rapidly, we won an award. We were winning awards, but one of them was the Bulldog 100. So I went to UGA
And got suspended,
Right.
and now win an award.
but
That's
now,
fantastic.
so now, yeah, they had this inaugural Bulldog 100. We want to recognize the 100 fastest growing companies owned by UGA alumni. So I'm like, wow, I got nominated for this. That's awesome. So
Very
of course I
cool.
sign up and I go. Now we've been on this list 4 times now, huge honor. But the first time we went was very special because when I went to the awards banquet, they called everyone up on stage to get the award, and guess who presented me with the award? It was the same president that had kicked me out of college.
Now,
10
did he
years earlier.
remember? Did he remember that he kicked you out?
Everyone asked me that. I did not get an opportunity to ask him. I mean, it was one of those
So would have asked him.
pose for the camera.
Like,
and
I need
then
to talk to you
get off
later.
the stage.
Oh,
You know,
that's kind of good though.
yeah, I don't know if he remembered me. And I want to think that I probably looked familiar to him, but he does so much that in 10 years he might not know why I looked familiar.
Yeah.
And also I was in the mindset like I don't want to mess this up, so I wasn't going to ask him that.
I think that's fun. I like that though. I love the fact. I mean, that's a turnaround story if I've ever heard
Right.
one. So, what do you think? I mean, other than like the wake up call,
hmm
what do you credit? You know, faith wake up call. What do you credit that big of growth? I mean, what? How'd you stick with it?
I know exactly what it is. It's being in alignment. And to me, that was a sign. That moment at that award ceremony was a sign that I was finally in alignment with my true purpose. And I believe that a lot of times when things aren't going the way we want them to in life and things just feel off, we're not completely in alignment. It's like a train. If it were slightly off the tracks, it's going to rumble, it's going to
feels wobbly,
shake, and
yeah.
could go completely off the rails. But when everything is smooth when you're on track. And so I had been misaligned for years and years and years in struggling and working hard to make something happen with very little results for my effort. But when you get in alignment, things just get easier. And it can be hard to figure that out, like am I on track or not? But I believe that the universe gives you clues, God gives you clues, and you have to pay attention to those clues. That carjacking was a clue. And I had other little ones along the way, and I listened to those nudges from the universe and actually take action instead of being hard-headed and ignoring them.
I think that's a big thing, and I call them God winks, the same thing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
don't you think when you get in alignment, I fought everything before we get to the alignment piece. I was like you. I'd get the nudges, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm stubborn. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. But when you finally are on the path that you're supposed to be on, personally, professionally, financially, I feel like things just, to your point, they feel easier.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
not that running a business or multiple businesses is easy, but it sure is a heck of a lot easier than what I was doing before when I was always fighting where I was supposed to be going. Like
Yeah.
it's almost, you just feel different. Things just feel different.
They do. And yeah, and I
Did
don't want
you
to
see
paint the
that
picture
too
that
with
it's,
yours?
that it's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still work. You're working, but when you're in alignment with your passion and your purpose, it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
And it just feels like you're on this awesome adventure, this awesome
Mm-hmm.
mission. And that, someday you're still gonna have bad days, because that's part of the human experience. But overall, yes, it just makes life a lot easier.
Yeah. So what? All right. So what? You have all these businesses. You're doing really well, and I know you have other ones too. Because I had to chuckle at your business, the Six Pack Dads.
Six Pack Dads.
They're y'all. I'm telling you, if you were listening to this and you're a dad without a six pack, if you're rocking the dad bod, you do have a Six Pack Dads.
Six Pack Dads. That's
I know. I've been looking for them. I haven't seen many of them. You guys need, because I was following you online and I saw that. I was like, that's a cool concept. Because I'm over the dad bod thing. I think they're trying to make that popular, and it just shouldn't be a thing.
Well, here's the thing. Six Pack Dads, it's not about vanity. It really started out of
I totally thought it was about vanity.
Not
for you, but when I read it, I was like, this is fantastic.
Well,
but I think it had to do with fitness.
Yeah, it does have to do with fitness. That's part of the marketing appeal. It's a clever name, Six Pack Dads. Everybody, a six pack is like the quintessential sign of fitness, right? Of good health.
Yes. I have a solid one pack going on. But I think, but it's good though. I mean, you how did you come upon that? Did you start it as a business or was it a passion project?
Passion project first, yeah. So I'll tell you that journey. So my fitness journey, I was overweight. When I was a kid, I had asthma. I could not run or exercise. I was never athletic. I didn't start working out until age 30.
Really?
And that was because of a health scare. I went to the doctor. I had high cholesterol. And then I went to my cardiologist friend in San Diego, and he had this new high-tech firm that he was launching, and he let me test it out. So they strapped up all these heart monitors and stuff and put me on the treadmill. And he was like, man, they gave me a fitness score. I got like a C-. And I was like, what? And I thought, surely not. So they told me that I had high visceral fat, and that is linked directly to cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
And when I did my DNA test, I'm at risk for cardiovascular disease anyway. So I thought I was in decent shape, but I was actually, I felt in my mind close to death. So this was another one of those rebirth moments, right?
So this was something I love that you just have these moments and you just dive into them.
I dive in, yeah. Because I get it, I'm operating out of fear, fear and pain, pain is really our greatest motivator. So they told me but you also have to know what to do. So his doctors taught me exactly what to do, because I'm like, I don't have time to just run all day and do all this stuff.
Right.
So they taught me about high intensity interval training, how to measure it with your heart rate, a very specific way of doing things with the strength training and body weight exercises. So I followed that program. I had an accountability coach that I would report to. And before I knew it, I looked at the mirror. I was like, oh, I have a six pack. And I'm in my 30s.
Because it's that easy, right?
No, this was a journey. But I had tried before and I couldn't get one. But I was like, okay, now here I am focusing on my health. And I actually ended up with a six pack. And I've kept one ever since. But it's motivated by health, not by vanity.
But I love that, right. And I teach you about the vanity thing. But I love the fact that you're like, okay, I did this. It was a turning point for you. And now you're trying to help other people do the same thing. I know it's not your main business. I just think it's cool that you'll have something that you like and you dive in. I mean, the biggest thing I'm hearing is you get this nudge and you're like, this is it. And you dive right in.
Yeah. Well, I had been following my own fitness routine personally for, I guess, 12 years. And then the pandemic hit. And I started to see, so I posted this before and after picture, because during the pandemic, it was stressful. We had to close one of our stores temporarily. And, everybody knows there was some type of stress you dealt with in 2020. Well, I put on weight. Stress leads to weight gain. And then you know what? I need to get this back off. I need to get back to where I was. And I just buckled down and I went back to the same routine. And in 6 weeks, I had gotten my six pack back. So I posted this before and after picture on Instagram. And all my guy friends who are in their 40s, I'll be 44 this week. So they were like, what is your routine? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, you guys don't know how to. I figured everybody just knew what to do. They just chose not to do it.
Everybody knows. Well, I think a lot of people know what to do. Now, I will say for the women listening, and I don't know, you guys can chime in and let me know, it is not as easy for us. You're like 6 weeks and I had my six pack back. I'm at 52 years and I still don't have mine. Now, granted, that is my own fault. However, I love that. I love that you just said that. I just assume everybody knew what to do and don't do it. Mine is, I totally know what to do. I just don't do it. Mine is 100% that I'm not doing what I need to do.
So that gets into behavior change and the
Yes.
psychology of that, right? You
And
gotta have enough
whether or not the
motivator.
change if what you have to go through, and this is business too, what you have to go through, is it worth, a lot of people,
Right.
it's just like, is it worth it
Is it worth
to
it?
do this?
But in my thing is like really your underlying health.
Mhm.
That's the number one thing that needs to be okay.
Yes.
And
100% agree.
so my guy friends were sending me messages like, how do you do it? And I would tell people like, here's exactly what I do. Well, when you give people that information, they don't do anything with it. So that set me on this quest. So this was my pandemic baby, six-pack
Yep.
dads. I said, how can I make this into something that people will actually use, that will inspire them to actually take action and make a change? So I created this 6-week online program, and it has like gamification elements, and it's teaching you the science behind all the steps of it. And I called it 6 weeks to a six-pack. And I helped a lot of guys actually lose a ton of weight. Like one of my students lost 31 pounds.
That's so awesome.
And he's like, every time I see him, he's like, man, you changed my life.
Does this work for women? Can
It
the
does.
women watch it?
So my wife snuck in.
Oh, you didn't post her pictures. I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah.
Did you post them? I didn't see her.
Go to Six Pack Moms. Yeah. So at first I didn't.
She's smart.
I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to step outside of my area of authority. So I
Sure.
just kept it to men only.
Right.
Because, she's had 2 kids, and she was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's some things here that women have to take into consideration.
Right? I'm on her side with this.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
snap back.
But my wife and I
I'd take 8 weeks to a 2-pack. I mean, I think I'd
that's
be
good,
happy
though.
with that.
8 weeks to a 2-pack is good, as long as
Right.
it's a starting point,
Right.
I
I love that she got into it too.
Yeah. So my wife is my business partner, and you remember I told you she was my girlfriend
Yep.
in college, and we started that business together. We're still business partners to this day. We have 2 kids, coming up on 20 years of marriage, and
That's
so
awesome.
we are a sounding board for whenever we have something. So I said,
Yeah.
hey, will you try this program and go through it as a participant and make sure that everything makes sense, and let me know if anything I need to change. And she was like, yeah, great, because my gym is closed and I need something, so I'm going to go through your program.
For sure.
So she did it, and at the end, she was like, "Oh my God, I've never seen my abs before until now, and now I can actually see my ab muscles." So if you go to Six
That's
Pack
so
Moms,
awesome.
you can see her transformation picture. So that was validation for me, like, hey, this is solid. This actually works for men and women. So let's make a full business out of this.
Yeah, I love that. And so many business launch. I did not. Excuse me.
Mhm.
I've got my allergies are going funny today. I did not see that during the pandemic with the 6-pack moms. And while I have a coughing attack here.
It was it was. So her transformation came a little bit later because she waited before she jumped into the program. But yeah, we rolled that out, and I want to get some more moms in it. So hey, if you're out there, go check out Six Pack Moms. Come on,
I'm going to
Kristen.
check it out. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to check it out. But what I love about it, and we just had Tommy comment watching saying true alignment means massive growth for sure. But I think that's with everything,
Yeah.
whether it's fitness, and I know you deal with fitness, with business, with everything, with your coaching.
Mhm.
Like, do you just have an idea and then you just execute on it? Like I know you did that with the business, but like with the book, where did it come from? Because I know when I've done mine in the past, it's a problem I see that a lot of people have, and I want to dive into it deeper.
All right.
So is
right.
that kind of how you're getting
No,
your winks and your nudges?
I noodle on it for a while. It may seem like it came out of nowhere, but
Yeah.
like this book,
I didn't think it. I mean, once I read what it was about and everything with your simple
Yeah.
concept, I didn't think it came out of nowhere.
but it's a long process, and this is with all of my businesses. It's a gradual thing, and I kind of I stick my toe in the water and kind of see what kind of responses I get back, and then go a little bit deeper, and then make changes as I go along. But I've been researching this since for about 8 years now. So since 2014 is when I gave my first talk about the 6 dimensions of success, about the simple, the spirituality, intellect, money, physical, love and relationships, entertainment. And that speech was well received. So I applied that to my life, and those are like the 6 dimensions, the 6 buckets of life, if you will, that we keep constantly calibrated. And after a bunch of talks and coaching sessions and speeches, it formed into what is now this book.
All right, so go through the 6 again. So you've got it's simple, which I love. I love a good acronym.
Yeah.
Spirituality, intellect, money,
Your physical
presence, love and relationships,
and
entertaining experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to start at the end with the entertaining experiences
Yeah.
because I feel like the older I get, I spent so much time worrying about building the business, letting my kids are older than yours, raising the kids, doing all that I miss the experience part of life. And I think that's a part a lot of people leave out
They do.
when they're kind of
Yeah.
mapping out their journey and mapping out life. So, what made you include entertaining experiences?
Yeah, you have to be intentional about designing entertaining experiences for your life, because that's what life is all about. And you can have it all in the other 5 buckets and be bored out of your mind or feel like you're lacking purpose or drive or motivation. So what I teach people to do in the book is to map out these, like take a piece of paper and make it a grid of 6 boxes and put do, be, have, learn, give, and change. So
Okay.
in those 6 areas, what do you want to do in life? What do you want to be? And just let the thoughts roam freely. What do you
Yeah.
want to have? These could be material things. Just unselfishly write down all these things that you would want to have in your life. What do you want to change? What do you want to change in the world? What do you want to change about yourself, about your family? What do you want to give? What type of causes do you want to donate to? What type of skills do you want to learn?
I
Do you want
love
to become a
that.
black belt?
Yeah.
And after you have mapped out those 6 areas, then you can create a vision board from that, or you can go a step further and create what I call a vision movie. And I explain how to create that in the book. Because when we watch a movie, we feel the emotion, and that this gets into NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And we can literally reprogram our brain, reprogram our subconscious, so that every decision we make leads us towards bringing that reality into our current true reality.
I love NLP, and I've heard a lot of my friends and other coaches that practice it and have studied it a lot. Everybody's on the movie kick now, the vision movie, and I've heard I'd heard that from a few people. They probably stole it from you, huh? But I like that concept because I was a big vision board. I've done it with my kids, and I had them do one, and every year we would do that like around New Year's Eve. But I like the vision movie, like just trying to play things out in your mind. So describe that for people who may not be as familiar with that term.
Yeah. So the simplest way to do it, after you have those 6 buckets of the do, be, have, then look up everything. Do a Google search for every term on there. Let's say you want to own a yacht and go sail the Greek islands, right?
Yep.
Google that. There's a picture of it out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Save that picture to your camera roll. Next, go to the give category. Maybe you want to donate $1 million to a charity. Google that. Drop a picture that means something to you in your camera roll. Now you have like 30 or so pictures in your camera roll. Export a slideshow. You can do it very easily in modern smartphones. And then watch that movie. Watch it every day. I like to watch it in the mornings while I'm going through my morning routine and like reading and meditating. Just have it playing in the background so that it sears into my subconscious. Because see, our brain doesn't know the difference between movies and reality.
Right.
Isn't that funny? I mean, have you ever cried in a movie?
Oh my gosh, you can. I'm addicted to Hallmark Channel. I cry at movies all the time.
Yeah, but you logically it's not real.
I know. I still cry.
Right. But your
Even
brain,
though I know they're going to get together at the end of the Hallmark movie, still cry.
you know it's going to happen. Your brain can't help but feel that emotion. So why not watch the movie of your life, your future life, unfold and feel that emotion, and then that triggers your subconscious to make it real.
I like that. I've never done the movie. I do. So the way I do my vision board every year is I have a planner I carry around because I'm old school and I like to write things down. But at the first 5 pages of the planner, or however many it takes each year, I have my vision board in there. I have it with me every day.
Yeah.
And I look at it frequently, but I definitely don't look at it every day. And so I like the idea of the movie. I guess when I've heard the concept and I've heard so many people talk about it and do it, I didn't really think about it being as easy as exporting it to a slideshow.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be super easy for anybody. Now I want to go do that.
Yeah, go do it. Let me know.
like that.
And the vision board is still great too.
Yeah.
Having it in your journal is great. Another place you can have it is on your nightstand.
Yep.
Like put it in a picture frame on your nightstand or on your bathroom mirror, somewhere where you're already going to see it.
I have a
every
few
day.
thast like that are, around the house that are different facets of it. And then I did a meditation thing last year with my friend Lisa Washington, who and she had it was called Porcelain and Ash, and we got rid of all the things that we wanted to get rid of, and we burnt the piece of paper and we made drawings out of the ash that came out. It was super cool.
Nice.
But like it was a really like cool drawing that we did that signified what we wanted. We burnt all the bad and signified what we wanted the good. It was totally woo-woo, which is,
No, that's great.
different for me, but it was the coolest thing. But I
Yeah.
love this idea of the movie.
The thing about woo-woo is like woo-woo is actually science. We just don't understand
It is,
how it works
I
yet.
know. And I love it. Like I'm getting my friends tease me because, in my coaching practice, I'm strategy. I'm business strategy all day long. And I've had to incorporate so much more of this because it has such a profound effect on our businesses and our lives and everything. So, in the book, in Wealth Beyond Money, when you talk about, the 6 dimensions and unlocking that and the simple concept, like for you personally, Ethan, what was the biggest one of the 6, or have they all kind of been equal in your life?
Well, the thing is that they're in constant flux. So you look at it from at least once a week, I take an assessment. Okay, what are my levels this week? Because different things are going to be going on in your life.
Sure.
And then you can adjust and know where you need to put your focus to kind of fill up that bucket this week. And then next week is going to be completely different. So,
So you're paying attention to it constantly.
Oh yeah, constantly. It's a constant thing.
Yeah.
And we're actually coming out with a companion journal for Wealth Beyond Money. It's with the editor right now, so that'll be coming out in the next few weeks.
Love that.
Where you go through and actually take the weekly assessment, and then we give you a daily routine that you can do to help you actually fill up the different buckets that you need to fill. So that keeps you in alignment in all 6
Ooh.
dimensions.
So it's going to be like, and I'm an accountability girl, which other when you said somebody hold you accountable earlier when you were talking about something, I was like, oh yeah, I love that. That's good because I feel like so many, I don't know if you feel this too, but I feel like so many people will read a book or come to hear you speak or do something and they leave like, this was fantastic, and they don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that they'll be able to implement what it is they're doing. The workbooks are big. We did one with my last book too, and it's you've got to have people just dive in and implement everything.
Yeah, you got to do
I
the
like
work.
that.
Yeah.
I like that. So has it? I mean, with this, it just came out in March.
March 15th.
I mean, so it's new.
New.
2 months. It's still a baby book.
Still a baby.
I love it. So what was the most fun part about writing it?
The most fun part. It's such a roller coaster ride, as I'm sure you know, writing a book, because there were so many moments of just sitting at the desk and getting my thoughts out. But then when I released it to the advanced readers to get feedback, I was so nervous, like, oh, they're gonna think this is weird. Yeah, and then when people actually tell you like, oh, this is great, I've already read it twice, and then so there's just this huge roller coaster ride, right? And but once you get that assurance, like, okay, you're like, this is really a solid piece of knowledge that I'm putting out into the world. And then I happened to go to a conference the week before the book was being released, and one of the speeches at the conference was about leaving a legacy, and he said that the only true way, or the best true way, to leave a legacy on this earth, something that outlives you, is the written word. Because if you think about other forms of media like music, video, movies, what are we looking at from 100 years ago? Are we listening to music that they listened to 100 years ago? Are we watching old movies? Not really. I don't even know if they had movies 100 years ago, maybe, but we're not even watching movies that much from 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But we consult books that were written 1,000 years ago, right? Napoleon Hill, these legacy authors.
Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, Think and
Read
Grow
that
Rich.
a lot. Yeah.
These classics. That was written so long ago. So the
Yeah.
legacy of the written word, and that, again, that seminar that I went to, that speech really impacted me because it was a week before my book launched. And I was like, yes, I did the right thing.
Another God wink that you did the right
another
thing.
God wink, yeah.
I love it. All right. So Wealth Beyond Money. I do want to touch on money for a minute because my background's in finance before I launched the coaching consulting firm. And so I dealt with money. I dealt with wealth. I dealt with investing, all that type of stuff. And I feel like what I love about Wealth Beyond Money as a title is I feel like being wealthy, my daughter's like, oh, they're rich. And I'm like, the word rich or wealthy, I think has very little to do with money. Right. And so I love that you titled the book that, because money's a component. It's the M in your simple acronym, but it's not the only component.
Right.
Now, and you've done with your businesses very well financially, but what do you advise people? Because I feel like so many people are just looking at the money. Right. So like when you come across somebody like that, to me, I'm sitting here going, you can't have it all. Like you can have it all, but you can't have it all if you're only focused on the money.
Exactly.
So
Right.
what do you tell these people? Like if somebody's listening, they're like, it's all about the money. What would you say to them?
Man, look, if you lose your health, what good is the money if you're in the hospital, or if you're, having to go to the doctor every other week, and you can't be with your family and enjoying the money? What good is it? It's useless, right? There's this phrase, there's this lyric by Kanye West. He says, "Having money is not everything, but not having it is."
You just quoted Kanye.
I just quoted Kanye. Yeah.
All right, having money.
Having money.
We've had some discussions about Kanye on the show before. All right, so having money is not everything.
But not having it is.
That is true.
Yeah. So
That
when
is
you
true.
money's, and I say in the book, money's like oxygen. Like when you don't have it, when you're starved of it, you will do anything to get it, and
Yeah.
that's why so many people want money. But once you hit a certain point, having excess oxygen doesn't do me much
doesn't do you any good.
right now. I could have tanks sitting over there. and
O2
it's-
sats only going to 100. Yeah. No, I
so
get that.
so it's the same with money. We hit a point of diminishing returns where I could stress myself out going after another million, but what's that gonna do? Like, is
Right.
it really gonna give me that much more happiness, or is it gonna it could decrease my happiness, maybe.
But that's why looking at the levels of all of the pieces of simple, that's why looking at spirituality, looking at like all of those, you've got to look at them at the same time.
You do.
And just see, because I think if you're only concerned with the money piece and everything else is drained, because
Right.
I know some really, really wealthy people who are miserable.
Miserable. Yeah.
Like in their, you talked about, let's see, physical, but love and relationships, spirituality, and intellect. I know some people that I feel like to the outside world, they are very successful
Right.
and look really good, but they're just devoid of a lot of happiness and things like that.
Yeah, one of the things that initially inspired me to go down this path, when I did that first talk in 2014, I learned of this guy named Paul Castle. He was a British multimillionaire. That was a real estate tycoon. He used to play polo with Prince Charles. He had it all. He drove the Ferraris and the Bentleys, had the private jets. And at the age of, I think he was like 54 years old, so a young guy, he stepped out in front of a subway train intentionally and took his own life.
No.
And that, you just got to think, like, what? This guy had it all. From what we could see, he had it all. Why would he do something like that? And that just sent me on this mission to research him and others like him, because that's not the only story we've heard like that.
Oh, there's tons
of them. And people with severe depression. We've lost greats like Robin Williams.
Yes.
That was so devastating. And
It
even,
was, and it was surprising, I think, for people
Yeah.
like us that saw him in the limelight but didn't know him personally.
right, suffering from depression. You think he has it all.
Yeah.
Even
Winona
people-
Judd just a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
country singer. Yep. Yeah.
Wow, the Prince, Michael Jackson. Now they, had their addictions. They left us at a young age, but these are icons, legends.
Mm-hmm.
So that set me out on this mission. Like, okay, what is true life balance, or what's the better answer for life balance? Because if you think about the traditional concept of balance, you think of like a seesaw.
Right.
And if you think of a seesaw, one side has to be down in order for the other side to be up. Well, why do we have to settle with something being down in our lives? We don't have to accept that.
Well, and I think the seesaw analogy, that's what we always talked about, or were taught, was that it's two things, but there's a lot more than two.
Right. So, right, there are more than two. So, and I believe you can have it all in those areas. If you think about it, not in the terms of balance, but in that flux I was talking about, constant contextual calibration of those 6 areas in making micro adjustments. Next time you're on a plane, look at the wings of the plane. Did you know that the wings of a plane are in constant motion? They're not just rigid. They have hundreds
little
of
flaps and everything. Yeah.
And there are actually hundreds of them. So most of them you can't see. They're like under there, but they're always like doing like little micro adjustments to get you to the destination with as little turbulence as possible. Well, in the same way, our lives, to get to the destination that we want, we have to make those micro adjustments along the way.
That's a great analogy. It really is. And I think with the categories, the 6 categories you've laid out, that tells us where the micro adjustments need to be made. Because I think, I feel like you can have it all, just not at once. I mean, you've got to continually, up and down, like you said, to intentional recalibration. I like that term. I like that term a lot.
Exactly.
You're kind of full of some good terms here.
Yeah.
All right. So I love it. I mean, the book, where can they get the book?
You can get the book Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere you would probably normally get books. I don't know if people go to bookstores anymore.
I like bookstores.
You do? Okay.
I go to Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
I mean, I do order more on Amazon than I go to Barnes and Noble, but we go.
Yeah.
My kids like Barnes and Noble. They like to go, explore and see what's in there.
Yeah.
See what new stuff they can find.
Yeah,
so what's next? What's next for Ethan King?
Well, so yeah, like you said, the book is brand new. So we got the companion journal coming out in a few weeks. And then we have the audio version coming out this summer. So right now you can get it on hardcover and paperback. Just search Wealth Beyond Money.
Did you do the audio version yourself? Did you record it in your voice?
Yeah, I haven't recorded it yet, but I will.
Whew, yes. It's tiring. I know we started off and Ingrid, one of our producers, was like, "Ooh, Ethan's got a radio voice. You're gonna be good with an audio book."
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Nice and soothing.
I'm an audiobook junkie.
Are you?
Yeah, I talk about that in the book. It actually helped me with my fitness because I would get bored working out and trying to run, and it was already hard for me. But when I started learning and listening to audiobooks, I was like, oh, I can do this. I can learn and sharpen my brain, the intellect part of it, and the physical part, the P, at the same time. So that's why I'm an audiobook junkie.
I think it takes both. Like, I'm not an audiobook person. I'm a physical. I'm not even a Kindle. Like, I like to hold the book, touch the book, dog ear it, highlight. If you ever borrow a book from me, it's got notes and everything.
That's what books were made for.
I love that. That's kind of how it. So audiobooks are tougher for me, but I recorded mine, and it was. I mean, it's a lot. I didn't realize how much went into recording your book. You'll have fun with it though.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun because you're reading it. You get excited reading your own words.
Oh,
so.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
So businesses. What's your next business? Any new ones coming out that we need to know about?
I'm actually trying to stay more focused.
You're trying to stay focused on
yes.
the few you have.
Yes, and growing the ones that I have. I don't have any new businesses on the horizon. I am doing more speaking, especially with the book launch and stuff. So I'm doing a lot of keynote talks, workshops, things like that are focused around the 6 dimensions of success. I get a lot of joy from that. That's my new passion. I mean, I guess that is a business in itself. But yeah, I get a lot of joy from that. So I look forward to doing more and more of that.
Spreading the word.
Yeah.
Spreading the word. Well, I like it. Well, I appreciate you being here with us. So as we're wrapping, biggest takeaway, like if somebody is thinking, man, I need to have more intentionality around these 6 areas.
Mm-hmm.
Other than read the book, which you guys have to do, and we'll drop a link in the notes too, but other than like being intentional, starting to think about these 6 areas, where do they start? If they're sitting here going, man, this makes so much sense and I need this so bad.
Yeah.
What's step 1?
Step 1, well, I'll give you a few of the kind of guiding principles that you must first embrace before you can really implement this into your life.
Okay.
And one of them is, if somebody else did it, you can do it too. So I meet so many people who have this like defeatist attitude, this victim mentality, like, oh, I could never do that. Well, if so-and-so did it, and they have the same qualities, you could too. I use an example in the book of basketball. Now, I suck at basketball. I do not play basketball well, and I'm about 5'8". But if I really, really had the desire to become a professional basketball player in the NBA, I know that I could. Because what I would do is go look at all of the other 5'8" NBA basketball players, and there are a lot of them, and figure out what they did, and then I would get a coach like that has done it and devote my life to pursuing that goal. But the desire has to be strong enough to do it. But I know I could do it because someone else has done it. So that's one of the first
I
things.
love that because you said a word, and it is one of my words that gets me. The victims. Mm-hmm. So many people have the defeatist attitude. The victim mentality. I hate the victim mentality.
Oh yeah, you got to.
But there's always somebody out there that's done it.
There's always somebody that's done it, and you have to have the attitude of, well, I can do it too. I can just follow the pattern of what they did. There's nothing new under the sun. Another mindset principle you need to adopt is, when presented with an option of either or, choose and.
I love that.
Choose both.
I love that. Because I say that all the time to my clients. I'm like, it's not an either or, it's an and.
It's an and, yeah. There's usually a way that you can figure out how to do both things and not have to, because really that goes back to victim mentality. If you're a victim to either or, then you're a victim of the circumstances, right? You control the circumstances and think both, but you have to tune your brain to think that way.
I see that a lot in business. I don't know if you see this with some of the clients you work with and coach, but I'll see it where they the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
So they're doing one thing and it's working really well, and then they shift and do something completely different. So they went to an or. We're gonna do this, or. And I'm like, all right, let's try both. Let's try. I think there's an opportunity to a lot more than we do.
And you can't. And we all suffer from the shiny object syndrome. It's probably why I have so many businesses. And I tell people, okay, if you
did the
itching,
and. That's why you got them both. You didn't leave one to do the other.
If you're itching to push that button, just okay, try it, see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have businesses that or business ideas and ventures that have failed because I tried them. I stuck my toe in the water. They didn't get much traction. I'm like, okay, well, I gave it a shot.
But you kept the other ones too. So I'll see a lot of times in business, I'll see somebody completely abandon something that's working, and then they'll go right to the new shiny object. That's where I like that ant piece. I'm like, let's test it out, put the toe in the water, and see how it goes.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah,
all right. And you said you have another mindset principle.
Yeah, one more mindset principle is that really there are no rules.
Ooh, I kind of like that one. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. A lot of times we get caught up in cultural expectations, and traditions and things that your mother did and your grandmother did, and now you think you're supposed to do them. And a lot of times that can be a prison in our minds for how we think, when really a lot of the cultural rules and expectations were just made up by people generations ago, who are no smarter than you and I are. And it was based on the circumstances that they had at that time, and they've been passed down, and they really don't apply anymore. So there is no good or bad, right or wrong. Now I'm saying don't break the law. Don't do anything that will, land you in jail or affect your afterlife.
Yep.
Whatever your beliefs are there.
Right.
But outside of that, like with the cultural expectations and rules, there really are none. It is what you decide. This is your life. You came in alone and you're going to leave alone. So don't filter your actions based on expectations of others.
I like that a lot. And I've not really heard I wish we had more time to dive into that, because I feel like a lot of people do that. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it's this, and they get the stinking thinking where they've made up their mind how something is or has to be or has always been or always will be.
Right.
And it's frustrating, I think, to see where I'll see it. I don't know about you, but I'll see people and I'm like, oh my gosh, they have so much talent, so many God-given gifts that they're just, well, I can't. It's always this, or I'll never be able to. And I think that's a good one.
Yeah, nothing breaks my heart more than seeing like unrealized, untapped potential in someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I just want to shake them and be like, do you know?
I know. I physically feel like I've shaken clients. I haven't, but it's true, because you'll see this. And sometimes they just need that. Sometimes they just need a person to say, here's what I see in you. Here's all the good I see in you. And I hope that everybody has that in their life. But if they don't, you got to find those people. That's part of shedding the people that, like you talked about at the very beginning, getting rid of the stuff weighing you down.
You shed those people, and you got to have that third party who can look at it from a different perspective. You just don't know what you don't know. I give this example. I shared on my social media. Actually, just last year, I was in my backyard, and we had got the landscaping redone, and the landscaper was like, you have a beautiful creek behind your house, and we could like remove some of these dead trees and limbs, and it only cost a little bit. I was like, really? I was like, go ahead, go for it. And now I have this beautiful view of Proctor Creek running off the Chattahoochee and the Beltline. Nice. I've been living in my house for 17 years, and I didn't see that potential, but it took someone else to see the potential in my backyard. It's changed my life. I love waking up and looking at it now.
That's a great analogy, though, because I think sometimes you've got to clear out the clutter and clear out the things to be able to see what you hadn't seen before.
You got to clear out the clutter. You got to have somebody else to show you where the clutter is sometimes.
I love it. I love it. Well, Ethan, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm excited. So Wealth Beyond Money. You guys have to check this out. Check it out. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the good places. I'm excited for the companion that's going to come with it. Yes. Then we can really start to execute. So Ethan awesome. King, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Kristen.
I'm glad you were here. Glad you're here. We'll have to have you back again, because I think there's so much more we can dive into. So please take a minute. Check out the book. I'd love for you guys to read it. And until next week, keep pushing through. And remember all the things Ethan said about a great mindset. So have a fantastic week, and we will see you again on the next episode of Renew.